Commander Vextar floated in his command chair, his long blue tentacles moving slowly as he studied the data screens around him. The bridge of the warship times Eternal Glory times hummed with quiet efficiency. His crew worked at their stations with the calm confidence that came from belonging to the most powerful empire in the galaxy. "Commander," his tactical officer called out, her voice carrying the musical tone of their species. "We have detected unknown vessels approaching our border." Vextar's large black eyes focused on the main display. 3 small ships moved toward Zephyrian space at a steady pace. They looked primitive compared to the sleek vessels of the Empire. Their hulls were rough and angular, made of basic metals instead of the advanced materials his people used. "Analysis?" he asked. "The vessels appear to be exploration ships," the science officer replied. "Their technology is very basic. Crude fusion engines, simple energy shields, and what appear to be projectile weapons." Vextar felt amusement ripple through his mind. Projectile weapons? What kind of backward species still threw metal at their enemies? The Zephyrians had moved beyond such things thousands of years ago. "Any response to our communication attempts?" "Yes, Commander. They identify themselves as humans from a planet called Earth. They claim to be on a peaceful exploration mission." The commander studied the ships more carefully. They were so small compared to his vessel. His ship could destroy all 3 without effort. The humans had no idea how outmatched they were. "What do our files say about this species?" His intelligence officer's tentacles danced over his control panel. "Very little, Commander. They appear to have only recently developed space travel. Our scouts classified them as Category 3. Minimal threat. Their world is listed as a Class 12 death world, but they seem to have developed despite this." Vextar nodded. Death worlds were common enough. Most species that evolved on such planets either died out or became so focused on survival that they never advanced beyond primitive technology. These humans had somehow managed both survival and space travel, but their ships showed how far behind they still were. "Open a channel," he ordered. The main screen changed to show the bridge of the lead human vessel. Vextar was surprised by what he saw. The humans looked soft and weak. They had no natural armor, no claws, no obvious weapons. Their skin was pale and smooth. How had such fragile creatures survived on a death world? A female human stepped forward. She wore a simple blue uniform with small metal decorations on it. Her hair was dark and tied back neatly. When she spoke, her voice was steady, but respectful. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Vessel Times Endeavor **. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations with your people." Vextar almost laughed. Friendly relations? This tiny ship wanted to negotiate with the Zephyrian Empire? He composed himself and spoke in the universal translator frequency. "I am Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. You have entered sovereign Zephyrian space without permission. This is a violation of Imperial law." Captain Chen's expression remained calm. "We apologize for any misunderstanding, Commander. We were not aware this space was claimed. We would be happy to withdraw if you prefer, or perhaps we could discuss establishing formal contact between our peoples." The human's politeness only reinforced Vextar's assessment. They were weak, seeking to avoid conflict through words rather than strength. This was exactly what the Empire expected from primitive species when they first encountered superior civilizations. "The Zephyrian Empire does not negotiate with lesser species," Vextar replied. "You will submit to Imperial authority and accept our guidance, or you will be removed from this space." He watched the human captain's face carefully. Her expression changed slightly, but not in the way he expected. Instead of fear or submission, he saw something harder enter her eyes. "Commander, with respect, we are a free people. We won't submit to anyone's authority without cause. We're willing to leave your space, but we won't become subjects of your empire." Vextar felt irritation flow through him. Did these primitives not understand their situation? His single ship could destroy their entire fleet. Their refusal was not just foolish. It was insulting to the Empire. "You misunderstand your position, human. This is not a negotiation. Submit or be destroyed." Captain Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. It was colder now, with an edge that surprised him. "Then I guess we have nothing more to discuss. Go to hell, Commander." The transmission ended. Vextar stared at the blank screen in shock. No species had ever spoken to the Empire that way. Even powerful civilizations showed respect when first meeting Imperial forces. This human had just insulted him directly. "Commander?" his tactical officer asked. "Orders?" Vextar's decision came easily. These humans needed to learn their place in the galaxy. A quick demonstration of Imperial power would either force their submission or eliminate a potential problem. "Destroy them," he ordered. The battle lasted only minutes. The human ships fought back, but their weapons barely scratched the Time's Eternal Glory's Time's shields. Their projectile weapons bounced harmlessly off the advanced armor. One by one, the human vessels exploded under the Imperial ship's energy beams. But just before the last ship died, it transmitted a final message. Vextar had his communications officer record it for his report. "This is Captain Chen of the Times Endeavour *. We are under attack by unknown hostiles. Ships destroyed. Tell Earth we tried to talk. Tell them what happened here." Then the ship exploded in a brief flash of light. Vextar dictated his report to Imperial Command with satisfaction. He had encountered a minor primitive species at the border, and eliminated them when they refused to submit. The threat was contained. The Terran problem was solved. He had no way of knowing that he had just made the worst mistake in galactic history. The message from the dying human ship was already traveling toward a small blue world on the edge of the galaxy, a world where the deadliest predators in the universe had spent millions of years learning how to kill anything that threatened them. The Zephyrian Empire had just declared war on humanity, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what happened when you attacked the apex predators of a death world. The message from the Times Endeavour Times reached Earth 18 hours after the ship's destruction. The transmission came through the Deep Space Communication Array just as the morning shift arrived at United Earth Command in Geneva. Communication Officer Lisa Park was drinking her first coffee of the day when the automated systems flagged an emergency transmission. She read the message twice before her hands started shaking. Then she ran to find her supervisor. Within minutes, the message was on the desk of Admiral James Harrison, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. He read it once, then called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. By noon, every world leader was staring at the same terrifying words on their screens. President Maria Santos of the American Federation spoke first. "How certain are we that this is real?" Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading expert on alien contact protocols, answered from her seat at the long table. "The transmission codes are authentic. The message came from Captain Chen's personal command frequency, and we've lost all contact with the exploration fleet." "So they're all dead," said Chancellor Wei of the Asian Coalition. His voice was flat and cold. "Most likely," Dr. Vasquez confirmed. 3 ships, 97 crew members. All gone. The room fell silent. Humanity had dreamed of meeting other intelligent life for centuries. They had planned for many scenarios. Hostile first contact was one of them, but most experts thought any advanced alien species would be peaceful. Advanced civilizations would surely be beyond the need for violence. They had been wrong. Admiral Harrison looked around the table at the leaders of Earth's nations. These people had spent years arguing over trade agreements and border disputes. Now they faced something that made all those problems seem tiny. "What do we know about these Zephyrians?" he asked. Dr. Vasquez activated the large display screen. "Very little. Our deep space sensors have detected ships in that region for months, but we assumed they were asteroids or space debris. Based on the power readings from the attack, their technology is far beyond ours." "How far beyond?" President Santos asked. "Their smallest ship has more firepower than our entire Space Force combined." The weight of those words settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Earth's Space Navy consisted of 12 combat vessels, built mostly for asteroid defense and patrol duties. They had never been designed to fight a real war, so we can't fight them, Chancellor Wei said. "We can't win a conventional battle," Dr. Vasquez agreed. "But that doesn't mean we're helpless." Admiral Harrison leaned forward. "Explain." Dr. Vasquez stood and began pacing as she spoke. It was a habit she had when thinking through complex problems. I've been studying the tactical data from the attack. These Zephyrians destroyed our ships easily. But they didn't pursue. They didn't try to track down our other vessels or investigate Earth. They acted like they had solved a minor problem. What does that tell us? They don't see us as a real threat. They think they can deal with humanity the same way they probably deal with any primitive species they encounter. Prime Minister Johnson of the European Alliance spoke up. And how do they usually deal with primitive species? Based on the message they sent Captain Chen, they demand submission first. If the species refuses, they destroy a few ships to demonstrate their power. Then they either get submission, or they eliminate the threat entirely. So they'll be back, Admiral Harrison said. Yes, but not immediately. They'll send a larger force. Probably enough to either occupy our solar system or destroy our civilization entirely. But they'll take time to organize it. They don't think we're dangerous enough to require immediate attention. President Santos looked grim. How much time do we have? 6 months? Maybe a year? These aliens seem to have a large empire. Moving fleets around probably takes time, even with their advanced technology. The room was quiet again. 6 months to prepare for war against an enemy with vastly superior technology. It seemed hopeless. Then Admiral Harrison surprised everyone by smiling. It was not a pleasant smile. Dr. Vasquez, you said they don't see us as a real threat. What would happen if they were wrong about that? The scientist stopped pacing and stared at him. What do you mean? You're an expert on evolutionary biology. What makes humanity different from other species? Dr. Vasquez thought about the question. Slowly, understanding began to dawn on her face. We're persistence hunters, she said quietly. We evolved on a death world. Every other large predator on Earth was stronger, faster, or had better weapons than us. But we survived by being smarter, more adaptable, and more determined. And we never developed instincts for submission. When threatened, humans don't surrender or run away. They find ways to fight back. Admiral Harrison's smile grew wider. Exactly. These Zephyrians have probably conquered hundreds of species. But I'm willing to bet they've never conquered a species like us. Over the next several hours, the Defense Council made decisions that would have seemed insane just 1 day earlier. Every nation on Earth would contribute to a single war effort. All space construction would focus on military vessels. Every factory that could be converted would start producing weapons and ship components. Most importantly, they would not wait for the aliens to come to them. Earth would build a fleet and take the fight to the enemy. Dr. Vasquez was tasked with analyzing everything they knew about Zephyrian technology and tactics. What she found was encouraging in an unexpected way. They fight like they've never met serious resistance, she reported to the Admiral 3 days later. Their ships are powerful but not heavily armored. They rely on energy shields and superior firepower. Their tactics are straightforward, almost ceremonial. Like they're used to easy victories? Exactly. I don't think they know how to fight a real war. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Keth Mora of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy was reviewing Commander Vextar's report. The incident at the border was minor, but it required follow-up. The Empire could not allow word to spread that primitives had refused Imperial authority, even briefly. He was assigning ships for a pacification mission when his aide interrupted him. Admiral, we're receiving reports from our monitoring stations. The human homeworld is showing unusual activity. Admiral Keth Mora looked at the sensor data his aide provided. The readings showed increased energy signatures around the third planet of the system the humans called Sol. Ships were moving between planets. Construction was happening in space. It appears the humans are building more vessels, his aide said. The Admiral was not concerned. Primitives often try to build defenses when threatened. It makes no difference. Assign a standard pacification fleet. 50 ships should be more than sufficient to handle anything they can construct. He had no way of knowing that the anything humanity was constructing was not just ships. Earth was building an entire civilization dedicated to one purpose: making any enemy regret the decision to attack them. The species that had climbed to the top of the food chain on one of the galaxy's most dangerous worlds was about to remind the universe why they had survived when everything else had died. Captain Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the Earth Destroyer Times, Vengeance Times, and watched the alien fleet approach. 6 months of constant work had produced 12 new warships, each one built with a single purpose: to hurt the enemy as much as possible before dying. The human fleet was pathetically small compared to what was coming toward them. 50 Zephyrian ships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with advanced materials. Each alien vessel was 3 times larger than the biggest human ship. "Contact from the alien flagship," reported Communications Officer Park. "They're demanding our surrender." Torres almost laughed. The Zephyrians still didn't understand what they were dealing with. After months of studying the aliens, human intelligence had learned important things about their enemies. The Zephyrians had never fought a real war. Their conquests came through demonstrations of superior technology, not actual combat. "Open a channel," Torres ordered. The main screen showed the bridge of the alien command ship. Admiral Kethmora appeared, his blue tentacles moving in what human experts had learned was a sign of confidence. "I am Admiral Kethmora of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy," the alien said through the universal translator. "You will surrender immediately and submit to Imperial authority. Resistance is futile." Torres looked at the alien with calm eyes. "I am Captain Marcus Torres of the Earth Defense Force. You attacked our people without provocation. You killed 97 innocent explorers. Now you come to our space demanding surrender. Your people refused to submit to the Empire. They brought destruction upon themselves. You can avoid the same fate by surrendering now." Torres was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, and something in that expression made Admiral Kethmora's tentacles twitch nervously. "Admiral, let me explain something about humans. We don't surrender, we don't submit. And we sure as hell don't forget when someone murders our people. Your species is primitive. Your ships are no match for Imperial technology. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." "You're probably right about our technology," Torres admitted. "But you made one big mistake, Admiral." "What mistake?" "You assume that having better weapons means you'll win. But humans learned long ago that the deadliest weapon isn't technology. It's the willingness to use whatever you have to destroy your enemy." Torres cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "All ships, prepare for attack. Remember what these bastards did to the Times Endeavour **. Make them pay for every meter of space." The battle began exactly as everyone expected. The Zephyrian ships opened fire with their energy weapons, and human shields started failing immediately. The alien weapons were devastatingly effective, cutting through human defenses like they weren't there. But the humans didn't fight the way the Zephyrians expected. Instead of forming neat battle lines and exchanging fire at long range, the human ships charged straight at the enemy fleet. They ignored incoming fire, accepted massive damage, and closed to point-blank range before opening fire. The Destroyer Times, Retribution Times, lost its main engines in the first minute of combat. Instead of withdrawing, Captain Lopez ordered all power to forward thrusters and rammed his ship directly into a Zephyrian cruiser. The impact destroyed both vessels, but the explosion also damaged 2 nearby alien ships. "What are they doing?" Admiral Kethmora demanded as he watched the battle unfold. "Why don't they retreat when damaged?" His tactical officer was studying the readings in confusion. "Admiral, I don't understand their tactics. They seem to be intentionally sacrificing their ships to cause us damage." The Frigate Times, Defiance Times, demonstrated exactly what the tactical officer meant. With its weapons destroyed and hull breached in a dozen places, Captain Kim did something no Zephyrian had ever seen in battle. She aimed her dying ship at the enemy flagship and activated the self-destruct sequence. Admiral Kethmora watched in horror as the human ship accelerated toward him, trailing atmosphere and debris. His own ship's weapons tore the frigate apart, but its momentum carried the wreckage into his vessel's hull. "Damage report," he shouted. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12. We've lost main power. Life support is failing." The Admiral could not believe what he was seeing. The humans were losing badly, but they kept fighting even when victory was impossible. They turned their own dying ships into weapons. Captain Torres watched 4 of his ships die in the first 10 minutes of combat, but his expression never changed. Each destroyed human vessel had taken at least one alien ship with it, and several had damaged multiple enemies. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "we've lost main guns. Secondary systems are failing. Then we do this the hard way," Torres replied. "All remaining ships, ramming speed. Take out as many of the bastards as you can." The Time's Vengeance Times shuddered as alien fire tore through her hull. Torres felt the deck shake under his feet as explosions rippled through his ship, but he kept the vessel aimed straight at the largest Zephyrian cruiser. "Captain," his engineer called out, "fusion reactor is going critical. We have maybe 2 minutes before containment fails." Torres looked at his crew. These people had volunteered for this mission knowing they would probably die. None of them showed fear. They were all focused on their jobs, determined to make their deaths count. "Signal the fleet," Torres ordered. "This is Time's Vengeance *. We're going down, but we're taking that big bastard with us. See you all in hell." The other human ships responded immediately. Every surviving vessel changed course to follow the Time's Vengeance Times in her final attack run. They formed up around their flagship like an honor guard, pouring every weapon they had into the Zephyrian formation. Admiral Kethmora watched the humans approach and finally understood what his people faced. These weren't civilized beings who could be reasoned with or intimidated. They were something else entirely. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Emergency jump to hyperspace." But it was too late. The Time's Vengeance Times struck the alien cruiser at full speed just as her reactor exploded. The blast tore through both ships and reached out to engulf 3 nearby vessels. When the light faded, half the Zephyrian fleet was destroyed or badly damaged. The remaining alien ships fled into hyperspace, carrying news of the battle back to Imperial space. The Battle of Kepler 442 was over. The human fleet was completely destroyed. By any logical measure, the Zephyrians had won. But as Admiral Kethmora's damaged flagship limped back to Imperial space, he knew the truth. The Empire had not won anything. They had awakened something terrible. His final report to Imperial Command was brief. "Enemy capabilities severely underestimated. Human species fights without regard for survival. Recommend immediate deployment of core battle fleets. We are not facing a primitive civilization. We are fighting evolved killers." Back on Earth, the Defense Council received news of the battle in grim silence. 12 ships and 300 crew members had died, but they had also destroyed 25 alien vessels and forced the rest to retreat. Admiral Harrison looked at the tactical reports and smiled that same cold smile he had shown 6 months earlier. "Signal all shipyards," he ordered. "Begin construction of the second fleet. And make sure every ship has enough firepower to take at least 3 enemies with it when it dies." The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you attacked a species that had spent millions of years perfecting the art of war. Commander Vextar stood in the central command chamber of the Imperial Super Dreadnought Times, Cosmic Dominion Times, and felt proud of the fleet around him. 200 warships filled the space around the massive command vessel, representing the largest military force the Zephyrian Empire had assembled in over a century. "Commander," his intelligence officer reported, "we are approaching the human solar system. Long-range sensors confirm multiple defensive positions." Vextar studied the tactical display with satisfaction. After the disaster at Kepler 442, the Empire had decided to end the human problem permanently. No primitive species could be allowed to destroy Imperial ships and live. What do we see? Approximately 40 human vessels in defensive formations around their homeworld, several orbital platforms, mining operations in the asteroid belt, standard defensive preparations for a primitive species. The commander nodded. 40 ships against 200. The humans had built more vessels since their first defeat, but the numbers were still overwhelmingly in the Empire's favor. This time, there would be no mistakes. Signal the fleet. We advance in formation. Destroy any human vessel that doesn't surrender immediately. What Commander Vextar didn't know was that General Patricia Kane had spent the past year turning the entire Sol system into the most elaborate death trap in human history. On Mars, now converted into a massive fortress world, General Kane watched the alien fleet approach through dozens of sensor arrays hidden throughout the system. Her command center was buried 3 kilometers under the planet's surface, protected by enough armor and shields to survive a direct hit from the largest alien weapons. "Ma'am," her tactical coordinator reported, "alien fleet is approaching the outer system. 200 ships confirmed." General Kane studied the holographic display showing enemy positions. The aliens were doing exactly what human intelligence had predicted. They advanced in a tight formation, confident in their superior numbers and technology. "Have they detected our surprises yet?" "No, ma'am. All stealth systems are functioning normally." Kane smiled. The past year had been busy for humanity. Every asteroid in the belt now contained hidden weapons or sensor arrays. Jupiter's moons had been converted into massive missile platforms. Even tiny pieces of space debris had been turned into weapons. Signal Phase 1. Let them get closer. The Zephyrian fleet continued its advance, expecting to meet human ships in traditional battle formation near Earth. Instead, they found something completely different. "Commander," the sensor officer on the Times Cosmic Dominion Times called out, "I'm detecting unusual readings from the asteroid belt." Before Vextar could respond, the belt exploded. Hundreds of asteroids that had looked completely natural suddenly revealed hidden missile tubes. Thousands of autonomous hunter-killer drones launched from concealed bases. What the aliens had assumed was empty space became filled with death. "All ships, evasive action," Vextar shouted. But it was too late. The human weapons didn't try to match alien technology. Instead, they used tactics the Zephyrians had never encountered. Swarms of small drones attacked in coordinated waves, each one programmed to sacrifice itself to damage larger targets. Nuclear mines disguised as space rocks detonated in the middle of alien formations. Most terrifying of all were the kinetic weapons. Humans had accelerated massive chunks of metal to incredible speeds using gravity assists from Jupiter and Saturn. These projectiles had no energy signatures and couldn't be detected until they were already hitting their targets. "Report," Vextar demanded as his ship shook from multiple impacts. 17 ships destroyed, 36 damaged. The humans have turned the entire system into a weapons platform. On Mars, General Kane watched the first phase of her plan unfold with cold satisfaction. The alien formation was breaking apart as ships tried to avoid the continuous attacks coming from every direction. "Phase 2, she ordered. "Spring the inner trap." The human fleet, which had been hiding behind Earth's moon, suddenly appeared and charged directly at the confused alien formation. But these weren't the same desperate ships that had fought at Kepler 442. Humanity had spent a year learning from that battle. Captain Jennifer Walsh commanded the new flagship Times, Terra's Fury Times, and led her fleet in a carefully planned assault. Instead of simply ramming the aliens, the human ships used hit-and-run tactics. They would strike hard, then disappear behind Jupiter's moons before the aliens could respond effectively. "All ships, implement Pattern 7, she ordered. The human fleet split into small groups and attacked from multiple directions. Each group focused on a single alien vessel, overwhelmed it with firepower, then scattered before reinforcements could arrive. But the most shocking surprise came when the humans started using the aliens' own technology against them. "Commander," the communications officer on the Times Cosmic Dominion Times reported in panic. "The humans are broadcasting our command frequencies. They're sending false orders to our fleet." Vextar stared in disbelief as he watched several of his ships change course and begin firing on each other. Somehow, the humans had broken Zephyrian military encryption. How is this possible? His intelligence officer was studying the data feeds frantically. "Sir, it appears the humans captured computer cores from the ships they destroyed at Kepler 442. They've learned our protocols." On the human ship Times Digital Warrior Asterisk, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Park was having the time of her life. Her team of former Earth hackers had spent months studying captured alien technology. Now they were using that knowledge to turn the entire enemy fleet into chaos. "Okay, people," she announced to her cyber warfare team. "Let's make these guys shoot each other. Send orders to Group 7 to attack Group 3. The Electronic Warfare Division was something completely new in galactic conflict. No other species had ever developed computer specialists whose job was to break into enemy systems during battle. The Zephyrians had no defense against attacks they had never imagined. Within hours, the great Imperial fleet was reduced to scattered groups of ships trying to escape the Sol system. They were being hunted by human vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere, strike without warning, and disappear before retaliation was possible. Commander Vextar found himself trapped on a ship with failing life support, surrounded by debris from dozens of destroyed vessels. The humans had turned what should have been an easy conquest into a nightmare. "Sir," his navigation officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the humans." The main screen flickered and showed General Kane's command center. The human woman looked calm and professional as she spoke. "Commander Vextar, I am General Patricia Kane of the Earth Defense Force. I have a message for your empire." Vextar said nothing. His ship was dying around him, and there was nothing left to do but listen. "You came to our system expecting to find a primitive species that would surrender when faced with superior technology. Instead, you found a species that has spent millions of years learning to kill anything that threatens us." Kane's expression never changed as she continued. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your crews are dead. You will return to your empire and tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth is not a planet they can conquer. And Commander?" Kane's voice got colder. "Tell them that if they send another fleet, we'll be ready for that one too." The transmission ended. As the surviving Zephyrian ships limped away from Sol, carrying news of their defeat back to Imperial space, Vextar finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. He had not just failed to conquer a primitive world, he had awakened the deadliest predators in the galaxy. On Earth, the Defense Council received reports of total victory. The greatest fleet in Zephyrian history had been destroyed by a combination of human tactics, technology, and pure determination. Admiral Harrison looked at the casualty reports with satisfaction. Humanity had lost only 8 ships and achieved something impossible. They had defeated a vastly superior enemy through intelligence, planning, and the willingness to fight dirty. "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked Dr. Vasquez. Harrison's answer would become legendary in human military history. "We prepare for the next one. And we make sure the galaxy knows that Earth is not just defended. It's hunting." 1 year after the Battle of Sol, Admiral Rebecca Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Times, Terra's Vengeance Times, and watched the most important ceremony in galactic history. Around her ship, a fleet of 200 human vessels held position in neutral space, waiting for the Zephyrian delegation to arrive. Rebecca was Sarah Chen's younger sister. She had joined the military the day after learning about her sister's death aboard the Times Endeavour **. Now she commanded the most powerful fleet humanity had ever built. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "Zephyrian delegation is approaching." On screen, the main display showed a single alien vessel approaching slowly, broadcasting surrender codes on all frequencies. It was a far cry from the massive fleets that had once threatened Earth. "They're requesting permission to come aboard for the ceremony." Rebecca nodded. "Permission granted. But remind them that any aggressive action will result in the immediate destruction of their ship." It was an unnecessary warning. The Zephyrian Empire was broken. After the defeat at Sol, their entire military structure had collapsed. Species that had been conquered by the Empire for centuries were now rebelling. The great galactic power that had ruled for thousands of years was falling apart. The alien delegation was led by Admiral Kethmora, one of the few Imperial officers to survive the human war. His tentacles moved in patterns that human experts had learned indicated deep shame and defeat. "I am Admiral Kethmora," he said through the universal translator. "I come with the full authority of the Zephyrian Empire to offer formal surrender." Rebecca studied the alien who had once commanded fleets that could destroy entire worlds. Now he looked old and broken, defeated by creatures he had once considered primitives. "The terms are simple," she replied. "Complete withdrawal from all disputed territories. Full reparations for the attack on our exploration fleet. And most importantly, the Empire will broadcast our message to every species in the galaxy." "We agree to all terms," Admiral Kethmora said quietly. The formal ceremony lasted only minutes. Documents were signed, terms were agreed upon, and the greatest empire in galactic history officially surrendered to a species that had achieved spaceflight less than a century earlier. But the real purpose of the meeting was not the surrender. It was the message that would follow. Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent months preparing the broadcast that would go out to every civilization in the galaxy. She stood next to Admiral Chen as they prepared to change the course of galactic history. "Are you ready, Doctor?" Rebecca asked. "As ready as anyone can be to tell the universe that the apex predators have arrived." The broadcast began with a simple statement of fact. "This is Admiral Rebecca Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, broadcasting to all intelligent species in the galaxy. We are humanity, and we have a message for you." The transmission would reach hundreds of worlds and dozens of species. Every civilization with the technology to detect it would hear humanity's first official communication to the galactic community. 1 year ago, the Zephyrian Empire attacked our exploration vessels without provocation. They destroyed our ships and killed our people. They demanded our submission, or threatened our extinction. Rebecca paused, letting those words sink in across the galaxy. The Empire made a simple mistake. They assumed that having advanced technology made them superior warriors. They were wrong. Behind her, the display showed footage from the battles humanity had fought. The ramming attacks at Kepler 442. The trap in the Sol system, the electronic warfare that had turned alien fleets against themselves. Humanity evolved on what you would call a death world. For millions of years, our planet tried to kill us. Ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, predators, diseases, and countless other threats shaped our development. Most species that face such challenges die out. We learn to adapt. The next part of the message was delivered by Dr. Vasquez, speaking as both a scientist and a representative of her species. "We want to be clear about something important. Humans did not want this war. We attempted peaceful contact. We offered to withdraw from disputed space. We tried every diplomatic option before resorting to violence. But when violence became necessary, we discovered something interesting. We are very, very good at it." The broadcast included detailed analysis of every battle humanity had fought. It showed how human tactics had evolved from desperate suicide attacks to sophisticated warfare that combined technology, psychology, and pure determination. The Zephyrian Empire has now surrendered unconditionally. Their fleets are scattered. Their conquered territories are in rebellion. The greatest military power in galactic history has been broken by a species they considered primitive. Dr. Vasquez's voice became more serious as she continued. "We are broadcasting this message so that every civilization in the galaxy understands what happened here. Earth is not just another world that can be conquered or intimidated. Humanity is not just another species that will submit to superior technology. In 70. In faction. Alwat 2000 PM. We are the result of evolution, on a planet where only the most adaptable, most determined, most effective killers could survive to reproduce. We are the descendants of creatures that hunted mammoth with stone spears and climbed to the top of the food chain through intelligence, cooperation, and the absolute refusal to give up." The final part of the message was delivered jointly by Admiral Chen and Dr. Vasquez. "To any species listening to this broadcast, we offer friendship, trade, and cooperation. The universe is large enough for all of us to prosper together. We hope to build relationships based on mutual respect and shared goals. But we also want to be very clear about one thing. If you choose to be our enemy, if you attack our people or threaten our worlds, you will discover what it means to fight a species that evolution designed to be the ultimate survivors. We don't want to be your conquerors. We don't want to build an empire. But we will defend ourselves with every weapon at our disposal, and we will use tactics that no other species has ever developed." The broadcast concluded with a simple warning that would become famous throughout the galaxy. "This is humanity. We tried to be your friends. Some of you chose to be our enemies instead. Ask the Zephyrian Empire how that worked out for them." Within weeks of the broadcast, Earth received contact requests from dozens of species. Some wanted trade agreements. Others offered military alliances. A few asked for protection from their own enemies. But the most common message was simple curiosity. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy wanted to know more about the species that had single-handedly ended the greatest empire in galactic history. The questions they asked were always the same. What kind of planet produces creatures like humans? How did such a young species develop such effective military tactics? And most importantly, how could they make sure never to anger Earth? Dr. Vasquez found herself giving the same answer over and over again. Earth is what you get when evolution spends millions of years trying to kill everything that lives on a planet. The few species that survive become very good at staying alive. Humans are what happened when one of those species developed intelligence. We're not evil, we're not naturally violent. But we spent our entire evolutionary history learning to kill anything that threatened us. That knowledge doesn't just disappear when we reach space. If you want to be our friends, we'll be the best allies you could ask for. We're loyal, creative, and we never give up on our friends. But if you want to be our enemies, Dr. Vasquez would pause and smile, that same cold smile Admiral Harrison had shown a year earlier. Well, just ask the Zephyrians what happens when you threaten humanity. The galaxy had learned its lesson. In the space of 1 year, a species that nobody had heard of had become the most feared military power in known space. And somewhere on Earth, in a small military cemetery in Geneva, a simple headstone marked the grave of Captain Sarah Chen and the crew of the Times Endeavour **. The inscription was brief. They tried to talk first. Below that, someone had added an unofficial message that perfectly captured humanity's new place in the galaxy. Congratulations. You just triggered